vast untouched continent on Earth hides something that could rewrite history? What if the frozen deserts of Antarctica are not just ice and rock, but a vault of secrets older than any known civilization? For decades, explorers, scientists, and conspiracy theorists have whispered about something unusual under the ice. Structures that rise with sharp angles. Shapes too perfect to dismiss as random geology. Shapes that resemble pyramids. At first, the idea sounds impossible. Pyramids are human creations. They belong to ancient Egypt, to the Maya, to lost empires that flourished under the sun. Not to a land of endless snowstorms and sub-zero winds. Yet, photographs from satellites and explorers' cameras show formations in Antarctica that look like the unmistakable geometry of pyramids. Are these formations a trick of nature? Or are they evidence of a forgotten chapter of human history? Today, we dive into the mystery of Antarctica's strange pyramids. The theories, the science, and the secrets governments don't want you to know. By the end of this investigation, you will ask yourself, coincidence or evidence? Antarctica is the most remote and least explored continent on Earth. It is a place of extremes. Winds can roar at more than 200 kilometers per hour. Temperatures plunge to -80 degrees Celsius. The ice sheet that covers it is so vast it holds 70% of the world's freshwater. Beneath that ice lies a landmass larger than Europe, locked away and largely hidden from human eyes. For most of human history, Antarctica was unknown. Ancient maps showed blank space at the bottom of the world. Sailors feared it. Only in the last 2 centuries did explorers confirm its existence. Even today, with satellites and advanced technology, more than 90% of Antarctica remains unexplored. And it is here, in this frozen frontier, that the pyramid mystery begins. The story first caught public attention when photographs taken during expeditions and satellite surveys showed sharp, triangular peaks in the Ellsworth Mountains. These peaks did not look like ordinary mountains. Their sides appeared smooth, with edges so straight that they resembled the classic pyramids of Egypt. One formation in particular drew intense curiosity. Rising nearly 4,000 meters above sea level, it stood with symmetry too precise to ignore. On Google Earth, users spotted pyramid-like structures at multiple coordinates. Some had 3 visible faces, forming near-perfect triangles. Others appeared with 4, just like the Great Pyramid of Giza. The images spread across the internet. News outlets picked up the story. Could Antarctica be hiding pyramids built by an unknown civilization thousands of years ago? Skeptics immediately dismissed the claims. Geologists explained that the so-called pyramids were natural formations known as nunataks. These are mountain peaks that stick out through ice sheets. Wind and glacial erosion can carve them into sharp shapes, they argued. But not everyone was convinced. The angles seemed too precise. The resemblance too strong. Nature, critics argued, rarely produces geometry that mimics human design so closely. This is where the mystery deepens. Because Antarctica has not always been a frozen wasteland. Evidence from ice cores and geological studies shows that millions of years ago, Antarctica had a much warmer climate. Forests grew here. Animals roamed its valleys. Some scientists believe it may have been habitable as recently as 12,000 years ago, around the same time human civilizations were beginning to rise elsewhere on Earth. If that is true, then the possibility of human presence in Antarctica cannot be dismissed entirely. Could an advanced ancient civilization have built pyramids here before the ice swallowed the continent? Supporters of this idea point to global similarities. Pyramids appear on every continent except Antarctica. From Egypt to Mexico, from China to Bosnia, human cultures across time and geography have built pyramid structures. Why would Antarctica be the only exception? Unless, they argue, we simply haven't uncovered them yet. Of course, the scientific community remains cautious. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. No official expedition has ever reported man-made structures under Antarctica's ice. And yet, photographs and satellite data continue to stir debate. There is another reason the mystery refuses to fade. Antarctica is not an open land. Access is tightly controlled under the Antarctic Treaty. Vast regions are off-limits to the public. Air travel is restricted. Certain zones are no-fly areas, with explanations ranging from safety hazards to scientific preservation. But for conspiracy theorists, those restrictions are red flags. Why block access if there is nothing to hide? As we begin this journey into Antarctica's pyramids, remember this: the greatest mysteries are not always in distant galaxies or ancient tombs. Sometimes, they are hidden in plain sight, buried under ice, waiting for someone brave enough to ask the forbidden questions. Is the pyramid shape in Antarctica simply nature's coincidence? Or does it point to evidence of a lost civilization erased by time and frozen under Earth's harshest landscape? The deeper we dig, the more the lines between science, speculation, and secrecy begin to blur. When the first images of Antarctica's pyramid-like peaks began circulating, the scientific community reacted quickly. Geologists explained that mountains often take sharp shapes, especially in polar regions where erosion works differently than in temperate climates. They argued that what people were calling pyramids are nunataks, rocky peaks that rise above surrounding ice sheets. Glacier grind against their sides for thousands or even millions of years. The weaker rock gets worn away, leaving behind hard, angular ridges. From the air or in satellite photos, they can look deceptively geometric. This explanation fits the data. Antarctica has dozens of nunataks. Their sides can appear smooth, especially under heavy snow cover. If you capture them at the right angle, the resemblance to pyramids is striking. The most famous Antarctic pyramid candidate lies in the Ellsworth Mountains. At nearly 4,000 meters high, it dominates the landscape. Two of its faces form angles similar to triangular sides. But symmetry breaks down on closer inspection. The slopes are uneven, the peak jagged. From some directions it looks like a pyramid, from others just a rugged mountain. Psychologists call this tendency to see familiar shapes pareidolia. The same phenomenon makes us see faces in clouds or animals in rock formations. People who want to believe in hidden pyramids are more likely to interpret these mountains as design structures. Still, questions remain. Why do only a few Antarctic peaks form such sharp, pyramid-like shapes while others look irregular? Why do their angles resemble the pyramids of Egypt or Mesoamerica? Is it coincidence, or does nature repeat geometry across continents? Comparisons show it is possible. In the Alps, the Matterhorn has four sides resembling a pyramid. In Canada, Mount Asgard's vertical walls look like a colossal stone tower. Nature can mimic architecture. Erosion explains much of it. In Antarctica, glaciers carve into rock for millions of years. Wind, snow, and extreme temperature shifts sharpen exposed peaks. Weaker stone crumbles, leaving harder structures with sharp edges. From space, those edges look unnaturally precise, even though up close they are irregular. Rock samples collected from these formations support the geological explanation. They match surrounding bedrock. No carvings, no tool marks, no sign of construction. If humans had built them, we would expect artifacts or structural evidence. None has been found. Scale adds another challenge. Some Antarctic peaks rise thousands of meters high. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands at just 146 meters. No known ancient civilization could have built structures on this scale, especially in the brutal conditions of Antarctica. Without evidence of tools, settlements, or pathways, human construction seems unlikely. Yet not all doubts are erased. The alignment of some Antarctic peaks appears close to cardinal directions, the same orientation used in Egyptian pyramids. Skeptics call it coincidence. Believers ask why such coincidences repeat across the globe. Antarctica's climate history complicates the debate. Around 30 million years ago, it had a mild climate with forests and rivers. Even as recently as 12,000 years ago, some regions may have been ice-free. If peaks were exposed then, their current shapes might predate the frozen age. Millions of years of shifting climates and erosion could have sharpened them into what we see today. If current warming continues and ice sheets retreat, more of these formations may emerge. What now looks like an isolated phenomenon could become common, fueling new arguments over what is natural and what might hint at something older. For scientists, the pyramids are products of geology. Ice, wind, and stone can carve illusions of design. For others, the resemblance is too strong to dismiss. The debate lives in this tension between nature's ability to shape and the possibility that Antarctica hides more than we know. The debate over Antarctica's pyramids does not end with geology. Alternative theories suggest the formations might not be natural at all. Instead, they could be remnants of a lost civilization, evidence of advanced cultures that existed long before recorded history. Supporters of this idea point out a striking fact. Pyramids appear on nearly every continent. Egypt, Sudan, Mexico, Peru, China, Indonesia, even Bosnia. Civilizations separated by thousands of years and thousands of kilometers all built similar structures. Was this coincidence, or did ancient cultures share knowledge we no longer understand? If pyramids were built everywhere else, why not in Antarctica too? Some believe the Antarctic pyramids could be linked to Atlantis. The idea of a lost, advanced civilization described by Plato has inspired centuries of speculation. If Atlantis did exist, and if it was destroyed by a sudden climate disaster, Antarctica could be the final resting place of its ruins. Ancient maps such as the Piri Reis map of 1513 show coastlines that some interpret as ice-free Antarctica. This fuels claims that people knew of the continent long before modern explorers reached it. Another theory suggests that Antarctica was once much warmer and habitable. Scientific studies confirm that millions of years ago, forests and rivers covered the land. But some researchers argue that as recently as 12,000 years ago, during the last ice age, Antarctica may have had ice-free regions along its coasts. If true, human settlements could have been possible. Perhaps early civilizations thrived there before a sudden climate shift buried them under ice. Comparisons with Egyptian pyramids intensify the mystery. The Great Pyramid of Giza is aligned with the cardinal directions almost perfectly. Some Antarctic pyramid-like peaks appear to share this orientation. Is this another coincidence, or a sign of intentional design? Skeptics dismiss it as chance, but believers argue that the precision is too strong to ignore. There are also explorers' accounts that add fuel to speculation. In the early 1900s, some expeditions reported strange rock formations in remote Antarctic regions. The descriptions never received much attention, but conspiracy theorists point to these reports as early evidence that something unusual exists beneath the ice. Proponents of alternative theories also highlight the secrecy surrounding Antarctica. Access is tightly controlled under the Antarctic Treaty. Few people are allowed deep into the continent. Military bases operate there under the cover of research. Satellite images are sometimes blurred or restricted. For many, this raises the question, if the pyramids are only natural mountains, why is so much of Antarctica kept out of reach? A more radical theory proposes that the pyramids are not human at all. Instead, they may be the remains of alien structures or technology. This idea is often dismissed, but it continues to appear in discussions about Antarctica's mysteries. Unusual satellite images, sudden flight restrictions, and reports of strange phenomena in the region keep the speculation alive. Skeptics argue that extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence. No tools, no artifacts, no ruins have ever been recovered from Antarctic peaks. Until such evidence appears, the pyramids remain mountains. But for many, the combination of perfect geometry, global pyramid traditions, and unexplained secrecy is enough to keep the theories alive. Alternative explanations thrive because the mystery of Antarctica itself is so powerful. A continent larger than Europe remains almost entirely unexplored. Buried beneath kilometers of ice could be landscapes no human has ever seen. Lost lakes, frozen forests, or even the remains of civilizations erased by time. In this context, pyramid-like mountains spark the imagination. If they are natural, they are remarkable examples of how nature can mimic human design. If they are not, they may be evidence of a forgotten chapter in human history, or something even more extraordinary. The question remains unanswered, but curiosity grows stronger with each discovery. And where science hesitates, alternative theories step forward to fill the gap. The mystery of Antarctica's pyramids deepens when we examine the layers of secrecy and restriction that surround the continent. Unlike most places on Earth, access here is not free. The Antarctic Treaty, signed by dozens of nations, governs the land. On the surface, it promotes peace and scientific cooperation. But to many, the treaty also creates walls of control. Large parts of Antarctica remain closed to the public. Travel requires permits. Flight paths are restricted. Some areas are declared no-fly zones. For conspiracy theorists, this is no coincidence. They argue that restrictions exist not just to protect the fragile environment, but to hide what lies beneath the ice. If strange structures resembling pyramids exist, authorities may not want them investigated. Satellite imagery adds to the suspicion. Google Earth users have identified pyramid-like peaks in several coordinates across Antarctica. Screenshots of sharp, triangular formations spread online. Some images seem to show structures with 3 or 4 visible faces, remarkably similar to man-made pyramids. Yet over time, certain coordinates appear blurred or censored. Some images vanish altogether, replaced by lower-resolution versions. For many, this is evidence of deliberate cover-ups. Supporters of the conspiracy theories point to parallels with other restricted zones on Earth. In places like Area 51, blurred satellite images and military secrecy fuel endless speculation. In Antarctica, the combination of natural isolation and legal restrictions provides the perfect setting for hidden discoveries. There are also stories from explorers and researchers. Some claim their expeditions were suddenly halted when approaching restricted areas. Others speak of unusual military activity in zones far from any official base. These reports remain unverified, but they add to the atmosphere of suspicion. The no-fly zones raise further questions. Official explanations cite dangerous weather conditions, magnetic anomalies, or environmental preservation. But skeptics believe these areas hide entrances to underground facilities or concealed structures. Some theories even suggest governments have discovered ancient technology beneath the ice and are keeping it secret. Satellite data continues to fuel debate. Some images clearly show mountain peaks shaped like pyramids. The angles are striking. The symmetry catches the eye. Critics argue that zooming in on rugged terrain can create illusions of perfection. But believers counter that the sheer number of pyramid-like formations across Antarctica cannot be dismissed as chance. Another layer of suspicion comes from blurred historical records. Ancient maps such as the Piri Reis map show parts of the southern hemisphere with coastlines that some interpret as Antarctica without ice. If cartographers in the 1500s knew of this land, did they also know of its secrets? This question remains unanswered, but it strengthens the belief that Antarctica's past is far more complex than the public is told. Whistleblower accounts occasionally surface. Claims from supposed insiders describe underground structures, secret research stations, and even discoveries of ancient ruins under the ice. While these testimonies lack solid evidence, they spread rapidly online, adding fuel to the theory that something extraordinary is being hidden. Even mainstream reports sometimes spark suspicion. When large chunks of ice shelves break away, revealing land that has not been exposed for thousands of years, speculation explodes. What if such events uncover ruins or artificial structures? Governments and scientists quickly step in, but conspiracy theorists claim they control the narrative, showing only what they choose to reveal. In this environment of secrecy, satellite evidence becomes both a tool and a battleground. Each new image, each blurred coordinate, each unexplained no-fly zone adds to the mystery. For skeptics, these are signs of ordinary geology. For believers, they are proof of a cover-up. The truth is that Antarctica remains the least explored continent on Earth. With more than 90% hidden beneath ice, it is impossible to say with certainty what lies below. Until unrestricted exploration is possible, the questions will remain. Are the pyramid-like shapes simply mountains carved by ice and wind? Or are they the remnants of something older, something intentionally concealed? The lack of clear answers keeps the conspiracy alive. Pyramids are not unique to one culture. They appear across history and geography. Egypt's Great Pyramid, the stepped pyramids of Mexico, the ancient pyramids of China, stone structures in Sudan, even disputed pyramid-like hills in Bosnia. Civilizations separated by oceans and centuries all built similar monuments. Why did so many different peoples choose the same design? Some argue the pyramid is simply a stable shape, easy to build and resistant to erosion. Others suggest deeper meaning. Perhaps it symbolized power, eternity, or a link to the heavens. This global pattern is what makes the Antarctic formation so intriguing. If pyramids rise from the ice, the question is whether they belong to nature or to a forgotten civilization. Supporters of the lost civilization theory point to myths and legends that describe great floods, sudden climate shifts, and continents swallowed by the sea. Plato's story of Atlantis is only one example. Many cultures record tales of lands that vanished and peoples erased by disaster. Could Antarctica be one of those places? The timeline fits in unsettling ways. Around 12,000 years ago, Earth went through massive climate change at the end of the last ice age. Sea levels rose dramatically. Entire regions flooded. If humans lived in Antarctica then, their settlements could have been buried under ice in a matter of centuries. Modern technology occasionally fuels this speculation. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed hidden mountains, valleys, and lakes beneath Antarctica's ice. Subglacial lakes untouched by sunlight for millions of years contain unknown ecosystems. If landscapes can remain hidden for that long, what else could be buried there? The secrecy surrounding Antarctica only deepens the mystery. Restricted areas, blurred satellite images, and no-fly zones create an environment where imagination fills the gaps. Without transparency, every unanswered question becomes an opening for speculation. The Antarctic pyramids sit at the center of this storm. To skeptics, they are mountains shaped by ice. To believers, they are proof of a forgotten past. To conspiracy theorists, they are a secret guarded by powerful nations. The truth may remain frozen for centuries, but the fascination will not fade. Every new image, every new expedition, every unexplained discovery adds another layer to the puzzle. So the question stands, are these pyramid shapes natural coincidences, or evidence that challenges everything we know about human history? Until the ice melts and the restrictions fall, the world can only wonder. The frozen continent keeps its secrets well, and among them, none is more haunting than the pyramids under the ice.